Whether you're brand new to the music game or an intermediate musician, writing a song is hard. There's a mountain of moving parts you need to nail down in order to get something that sounds good. But never fear, I'm here to part the fog and show you an easy way to start songwriting. In this video, I'll show you exactly how to write a song that will sound like this. Lately you've been away, yeah, you've been distant, your head's in space and you won't listen. Even if you've never done it before or know nothing about music. I'll break down the songwriting process into easy to follow steps so you can begin making your own right away. And if you stick around till the end of the video and follow these steps, you too will have your very own song to show for. Let's start off learning how to write a song with a basic overview of the most important concepts you'll need to know about. Music theory, the way that musical notes work together to make nice sounding songs. Song arrangement, how the song flows from section to section. For example, from verse to chorus. Melody, the pitch of the main notes of the lyrics of the song. Lyrics, the words to a song. We'll go over more about each of these concepts as we continue through the video, and I promise they'll make more sense as we go. It will also be helpful if you play an instrument of some sort as you begin songwriting. If you don't know how to play an instrument, you can always follow along by writing some basic chords into your DAW and playing them. It's not necessary to play an instrument, but it does help. But let's get started with the method and start writing. Step 1. Choose the chords. You can start with the lyrics or melody, but 9 out of 10 times I write a song, I begin with the chords of my song first. To choose these chords, we'll need to know a little bit about music theory. Here is a 60-second crash course to get you started. To begin, we'll want to keep our chords restricted to a certain key. In this case, I'll choose C major. The C major scale starts on C and goes all the way up on the white notes on the piano. It contains C, D, E, F, G, A, B, and C. Notice how it sounds. The reason it sounds like a major scale is because of the relationship between each note. In simpler terms, how far away each note is affects the overall sound of the scale. The relationship or pattern between C and D, the first 2 notes in the scale, is called a whole step. A whole step covers 2 semitones or notes. A half step goes to the next semitone or note. That means the pattern for a major scale is whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half. We can use this pattern starting on any note we want to. If we start on G with this same pattern, whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half, we get the notes G, A, B, C, D, E, F sharp, and G. Now, when we play or choose chords for our song, we'll want to keep the scale we've chosen in mind. For simplicity, we'll continue using the C major scale. Starting with the C major scale as a base, we can count off each note as a number and use its related chord. C, being the first note of the scale, is the 1. D, being the second note, is the 2, which in this case happens to be minor. E, the 3, F, 4, G, 5, A, 6, B, 7, and C back to 1. Now notice as I played those chords, I used Roman numerals to signify what chord we're using. That is a common practice in music. Capitalized Roman numerals like 1, 4, and 5 represent a major chord, while lowercase Roman numerals represent a minor chord like the 2, 3, and 6 chords. Notice the pattern thus far. All of the major keys follow the same pattern of major and minor chords. As we played these chords, notice that none of them left the scale of C major. They were all restricted to the original notes of the major scale. Using chords related like this will make our songwriting much easier to write. And so that means for our song, we'll have a selection to choose from of C major, D minor, E minor, F major, G major, A minor, B diminished, and C major. And now that we've prepared our palette of chords to choose from, we can move on to step 2 of the process, which starts with arranging the song. Songs change over time. They go from a mellow verse to an energetic chorus, and that's what song arrangement is all about. I've actually got a full video detailing more on song arrangement that you can watch up here that you should check out if you're interested in learning more. But for our purposes now, let's stick with a simple structure. In this video, we're going to write a verse, a pre-chorus, and a chorus. And to keep it shorter, we're only going to stick with those. Normally, you might throw on a second verse, second pre-chorus, and second chorus, but for our purposes, this first part is fine. For each of these different parts, I'll want to change up the chords of the song. You don't always have to change up the chords between sections, but doing so can keep it more interesting. Also, for each section, I'll make each one 8 bars or measures for simplicity. Let's take some of those chords and we'll put them into the progression. Let's start with C major because that's our 1 chord. Then let's move something to a bit more sad sounding like A minor. And then we'll go with something a bit more major again, and we'll go back with F major. You can drag and drop any of these chords into the song structure and play around with the rhythm as well to get some cool results. I encourage you to experiment with this until you get something you like. You can even use the same chords for multiple song sections of the song like I mentioned before. There are really no rules. I'll finish up the chord selection using the palette I've already described and finish the pre-chorus and chorus by doing the exact same thing. And once you've got the general chord outline, it's time to move on to step 3 of the method. Step 3, choose a melody. Now that each section of the song has a slightly different chord progression to it, we'll want to add a general melodic idea over the top of it. My favorite way to do this is by humming and scatting. As the chord progression plays, start humming or scatting along to the beat of your song till you get something that feels good. You can either play your instrument and hum at the same time, or you can record yourself playing the chord progressions and keep playing over it. Both will work absolutely fine. And generally for melodies, I like to keep the verse a bit lower and softer in my vocal range, and then for the chorus, I like to move it up a bit in my vocal range to give it more energy and more excitement. I'll demonstrate what that humming and scatting looks like now, and then I'll show you exactly what I came up with. Now keep in mind that this melody that I just came up with is a guideline and not the final product. When I begin putting lyrics on the song in the next step, I may want to change it around a bit, and that's totally normal and totally fine. I just did this so I'd have an outline to work from. And with that outline in place, we'll move on to the final step, step 4. Write the lyrics. We've got our chords, we've got a rough outline of our melody. Now it's time to write some lyrics to our song and really turn it into something special. Now, lyrics can be one of the hardest parts to get right of a song, but just like with everything else, the more lyrics you write and the more you practice lyric writing, the easier it is to write them. To start off writing lyrics, I like to brainstorm a whole bunch of word ideas and spew them down on the paper. I'll take another listen to the song we've got so far and feel what kind of vibe or emotions I get from listening to the chord progression itself. A sad sounding track probably deserves some sad sounding lyrics, whereas an upbeat and more regal, happy sounding track should probably have a similarly positive message. In this case, it's something in between. So I'm going to write down and brainstorm some words I might want to talk about. During this process, any word will do. I'm trying to just let my brain vomit out any ideas all at once. I can always refine them later. Let me demonstrate that process for you. And there's our list. I really stayed with a space type theme, so I included a lot of words about that. But I've got some really good ideas and concepts to work from now. Now I'm going to use these words as a starting point as I begin writing my song and putting those words into the melody I've already created. And one more thing we'll need to consider as we write our song is the rhyming structure of the lyrics themselves. In songwriting, lyrics that rhyme often feel more connected, more emotional, and intelligent than lyrics that don't. It's usually a good idea to rhyme the ends of lines together to get a good sounding result. One common rhyme scheme we can use is called an AABB. In AABB, the first 2 lines rhyme with each other and the last 2 lines also rhyme with each other. They're denoted by AA at the end, and the last 2 lines would be BB. Another common rhyme scheme is ABAB. There are a bunch of rhyme schemes to go into and try out with. I'll go over those in a separate video, but if you're just starting out, stick with one of those first 2 I just mentioned. If you want something a bit different, feel free to experiment with some unique rhyme schemes or just come up with your own. And the last thing to keep in mind as we write our lyrics is the syllable structure of the lyrics themselves. A syllable just means how many different sounds are in a word. Water has 2 syllables, wa, and sun has 1 syllable. sun. While writing lyrical lines, we should think about how many syllables each line has. The best songs try to match these together. So an AABB pattern might use 7 syllables, 8 syllables, 7 syllables, 8 syllables to keep things consistent. If we stray too far away from the amount of syllables between lines, the song won't sound as cohesive as it should. This is one of the biggest mistakes I see in beginning songwriters that send me their songs, so I wanted to bring it up. Yes, I know that's a lot to think about, but we're almost ready to get started adding some lyrics. I just wanted to give you a technical overview of what we're doing so we can be sure that we're writing some awesome songs. Let's start by plugging in some of these words into our verse. For the verse, I'm generally trying to paint a picture of what's happening in the song. For me, verses are more of a specific story or experience, where choruses are more of a generalized feeling or emotion. Let's write each part and see what happens. We were watching all the stars on the hillside from our car. Ooh, if it made it alright, give you the mood. I'm thinking about planets here. I'd give you the moon if it would make it alright. I think we're going to try to fix this with some sort of atmospheric planetary kind of theme. Cool, so I will record that and we will go from there. Watching all the stars, and I'll give you Mars if it comes by, and when you give all like a satellite. And sweet, that will do it for our basic song. It's completed. Let's take a listen to the final product. Also, just so you know, I added a couple more parts and production elements to make this song stick out a little bit more, a couple more vocals, and produced it a little bit better. But yeah, I also processed all of my vocals with my vocal preset pack. If you want to check that out, link in the description. We're watching all the stars on the hillside from our car. I don't need a telescope to see your hearts out in the cold. Lately you've been away, yeah, you've been distant. Your head's in space and you won't listen. A different planet you've been walking. This isn't what I wanted. I'd give you the moon if it would make it alright, and I'll give you Mars when it comes by. When you get far like a satellite, I'll let our gravity bring you back to mine. Go. Notice how I use each of those parts we mentioned to come together and create a song. There's a method to my madness, I promise. But even though we wrote a song together today, this is just the beginning. Go back and rework the song till it really feels right. Go write a bridge. Go write another song. Go write 20. The more you do this whole process, the less you'll have to think about it. And once you've got something good, send it over to me. I'll give you my real feedback so you can improve and get better. Subscribe for more music production and songwriting content just like this, and I'll see you in the next one.